What's going on, everybody? My name is Rewatch Ryan. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. This is a different type of video than you're used to. I reviewed the movie RRR, which is an incredible Tollywood epic. It was my first ever Tollywood film, first ever Indian made film, and the video just did super well, better than any other video I've done since I've done Rewatch Ryan. And I also learned a lot of stuff. Like, me and Brando were having a good time, having fun with the movie, but we also learned a lot from you guys, the viewers, the people that came into the comments, and most of you were super respectful. You gave us some great recommendations. You kind of let us know what we got wrong about the Tollywood industry, about Indian cinema, and about RRR in general. So I thought I would just make this video and take the time to go through some of my favorite comments that I got on both the Watch Diary podcast and the Cutout movie review of RRR. I should let you know real quick that I've rewatched several scenes since watching the entire movie as a whole, because I kind of talked about how rewatchable it may or may not be. It's a great movie to recommend, but I didn't know about the rewatchability. I've rewatched several scenes over the last few days since uploading the videos, so I've been having a lot of fun recommending it to people as well. If you're new to the channel, again, my name is Ryan Snelling. You can follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, at Rewatch Ryan. Explore my channel. You can see other movie reviews. The Watch Diary podcast is a podcast I do every single week, and I upload the video of it as well, but it's also on the podcast feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And I cut out all the videos so you can see all the segments within that podcast in video form, and that's what this channel is primarily made up of. So please check out my other content. This week I'm going to be talking about the movie Bullet Train, the Predator prequel Prey, and the new movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. All three movies are coming out this week, so I'm going to talk about all those, and I'm also going to rank every David Leitch film in honor of Bullet Train. So that's what this week is going to be. So yeah, let me just go on and pull up some of my favorite comments. I went ahead and put them up in my Letterboxd. Here, let me see. There we go. That's what it is. So shout out to everybody, especially when you wrote out this much. I had to shout out, and sorry if I butcher names, but Abhishek, I appreciate you writing this all out to me, so I definitely was going to put you front and center with this. So let's just go through these and see what we find out. This might be good information for you too, so, but maybe you might also already know this, but from Abhishek, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. You will love this movie more if you deeply analyze every metaphoric reference of this movie, because the director shows a movie with less cool dialogue. In his movie, the imagery talks more than dialogue. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the imagery was wonderful, and I think that's some of the stuff that was missing in mine and Brando's review. When me and Brando are together and we're over the internet, because he's across the country, I usually just feed off of him and let him talk, because I want to give him a reason to be on the show, because I can do the show by myself and talk as much as I want. But when Brando was on, I let Brando go and I kind of just feed off of him. So a few of the things that I kind of forgot to mention for myself is how much I admired how bright the cinematography was. And I don't mean just overexposed. I just think everything was so well lit, and it's a completely different type of cinematography than we have over here. So it looked nice, and I just thought it just had more life to it, and it was more vibrant. So I really appreciated that. And of course, like we said, the imagery, I think what you're going to go on to talk about, the exchange of the flag and the child. I also watched the Corridor Crew video after I reviewed the movie, and they talked a lot about, I think, some of these things that you're talking about here too. So yeah, we talked about the wild animals. So you're going to go on and tell me, I want to tell you something about water and fire. Somebody asked the director why he chooses water and fire as a friend, which is never possible because they're opposites. He replied that if they come and work together, they can do amazing things like create steam and run a motor. Yeah, I like that. There's a scene during the friendship montage playing when both of them are running beside the train. The train releases steam. Yeah, I like that. It's not just gorgeous. I totally get that. The scene where blood drops on Rom's hand. Create steam, you feel like TV. Yeah. In his movies, he does not add any cool dialogue. He just shows imagery and reference. If you see, then you will not see any cool dialogue in his movies. His movie making is different. He doesn't care about logic. He just wants to entertain people. And I love that. Bahubali 1 and 2, I've gotten multiple recommendations for those, so I definitely want to check those out from a few years back, it looks like. So, yeah, I 100% can see everything that you're talking about. I will rewatch this movie soon. And I'll probably do like an updated video and start picking out some things. I'll probably do it after I check out some more Indian cinema. Just so I can look back on it now that I have more context, I guess, for Bollywood and Tollywood and all the others. So yeah, that's a good idea though. And thank you for writing that in. Silver Hall, Jesus Christ. How did you miss the reason for why they are two different movie industries? Bollywood does Hindi movies. Tollywood does Telugu movies. They are completely different languages, which leads to different actors, different directors. Hence, they are different movie industries. Just 1 minute of research would have told you that. They are not simply different genres. They are not simply the same difference as movies in LA versus movies in the rest of USA. You really think Indian people are stupidly calling them different names for no good reason? This is a similar attitude to when people think Japanese, Korean, and Chinese are all the same. I know you don't mean any offense, but it is annoying when people do this. Apart from that, enjoyed your video. Good work. So this is in reference to a part of the podcast that I've actually since edited out because I saw Silver Rahul's part. I think that's how you say that name. I understood your point. And I get that. I mean, honestly, we were just being silly. I did some quick research right before the podcast, and I reference it in the show with Brando. I looked up like the 10 different reasons why Bollywood is different than Tollywood. And I think the number one reason was the language difference, which is what you're pointing out. And I think the reason why I skipped over that while being the most crucial difference is because we don't recognize anything like that over here in America. Like Inglourious Bastards, for example. It's an American movie. 70% of it is in German and French as well. So but when a movie comes out, it's Hollywood, but it's in a different language. So I just didn't recognize that a different language is what would differentiate between a term that I use for like a studio system. So I don't think, when I think of Bollywood, I initially just thought that's what you call the studio system in India. And I didn't realize separate states in India did that. So the concept, I understand 100% what you described. I'm just not familiar with it. So I just happened to skim over the part that I least recognized as far as the industry here in America. So that's why I just glossed over it. And I don't think it's exactly the same as when people think Japanese, Korean, and Chinese are all the same, because I don't know anybody that actually thinks that. I think it's very specific. And again, this might be out of ignorance, but I think it's very specific that India seems to have all of these different types of studio systems and all these different languages. I've never heard of the Telugu language until this movie came out. So if I turn on a movie based in India and I hear a language, I don't know the difference because I don't know one language, let alone all of them. So when I saw that the thumbnail on Netflix said Hindi on it, I thought it was just letting me know, which it is letting me know that it's in Hindi, but I didn't know that it was also translated from its original language. Like I just read, a movie in Hindi. So some of that stuff is missing. And also at the same time, like even American movies, I don't excuse me, I'm getting passionate. I'm spitting everywhere. I don't really deep dive on movies anymore in general. So this was good to know 100%, but I just didn't recognize it as something that's common. And no, I don't think Indian people are stupidly calling them different names. I think I think you also kind of just took some of my stuff a little too literally. Like, I think we were also just kind of having fun in our ignorance, if that makes sense. Like, we knew we sounded stupid, and Brando and I just kind of jokingly sound stupid, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I knew any better. I didn't know this, but at the same time, we kind of just play it up. So, but I mean, it's good to know for sure. I didn't know that they were different industries. So, apart from that, enjoyed your video. Good work. You go on in another comment to say the subtitles during the friendship montage scenes were lost in translation. The actual song lyrics are less on the nose than literal narration of what is going on. It certainly diminishes the song a little bit. Yeah, we had a good time with that. It's not like it was a make it or break it thing. About the mouths being out of sync during the musical, the reason is that the version you saw on Netflix. See, that makes 100% sense, honestly, because I saw that if I remember correctly, everything else was pretty on track, and it only just stood out in the songs. So I thought that was just like a stylistic editing thing. I had no clue, so that is good to know as well. Panaki says the director of the film also appeared in the end credits dance sequence. It's a Shakespearean theater thing where all the cast and director appears about at the end of a play. Often at the end of Indian cinema, and the main cast and director appears in. See, I think that's really cool. And I appreciate that. I don't know if I would tolerate it in an American movie. The thing that it reminds me of the most is like the end of Anchorman, for example. But it's like still within universe, within the characters. It's not like what's his face? Why am I forgetting Adam, the director? Why am I blanking on his name? Adam. He's Adam McKay. Yeah. It's not like Adam McKay ever like breaks the fourth wall and comes in as the director or anything like that. And just personally, I'm not a fan of musicals, but I was just like in on it, you know? I feel like RRR could have done literally anything and I would have loved it and praised it just because it just felt like I understood the context that we were working with, and I was genuinely having fun. And the passion of the movie was just oozing off the screen that it could have probably gotten away with anything. I mean, I was enjoying every bit of it. I mean, the stuff that we did get, the dance sequence, that's an extremely random thing. If you're used to American films, that's an extremely random thing to just have in this like really like action focused I don't know, cat versus mouse, spy versus spy type movie. And but I loved it, and it's one of my favorite scenes. It's probably one of the most memorable scenes, honestly, is that dance sequence. I loved it. So it's kind of magical, you know. I actually give it more credit because American movies don't really have the balls, but also couldn't just get away with it the way that this did. And it's just, I respect it and appreciate it so much. Vishuddhi, dancing and singing is an integral part of Indian culture, so it reflects on our movies. They essentially reflect and depict cultural connotations and themes. Western audiences find it unrealistic, but we simply love dancing. I love it. Yeah. They definitely don't need to be realistic. Definitely not. I mean, that's where we get a lot of like movie cliches and stuff that it's like you also have to remember you're watching a movie and you're suspend your disbelief a little bit. A lot of Western movies are totally unrealistic, especially done by MCU, 100%, and they're not supposed to be. You know, even the ones that say they're like grounded in reality are still about super soldiers that are being thrown into the side of a building and not getting hurt. So 100%, I don't need a movie to be realistic. Totally. Akhilesh, you see, India is like a continent of Europe. Well, Europe is a continent, but each state in India speaks a different language. Totally get it. See that? I mean, yeah, I get that 100%. I think that's the part that I'm unfamiliar with, because here in America, there's all kinds of languages that are spoken. You know, we're a melting pot as well, but our movie studio is, we have one studio system for the most part, and it's, you know, primarily, it's just like one thing. Though it can be many. So I totally get it. The other language movie industries are equally good and have their own unique flavors. I think that was ultimately my point that I think Silver kind of got a little peeved with, is that like, even as I went down the list of differences between Bollywood and Tollywood, a lot of them were like superficial. Like this, either, I can't remember what it was, but it was like Tollywood are typically 2 to 3 hours and Bollywood's typically 3 to 4. Maybe I've got that backwards, but it's like, I don't know why that is, I get that literally is a difference, but it's also a superficial thing that doesn't really matter. So a lot of them do have like superficial differences, and that's okay. but it kind of just at the time made it seem like they weren't really that different. And I think that's why I came off that way. Though I am definitely more educated now. Tollywood is more bombastic than Bollywood, which is crazy because I was sold and educated on Bollywood for being bombastic. So the fact that I just went straight to like one of the more bombastic ones, that's awesome. Mollywood is more realistic. Collywood and Sandalwood are other major industries. I've never heard of any of those. You're the very first person to drop that. So if I watch any other Indian movies, I might get it wrong, but I'll try to look them up and see if I can figure out the differences for myself. The Observer. You guys got the based on true story part totally wrong. The director has categorically made a statement saying the movie is based on... I don't think we didn't know that. We knew that. I think what you're referencing is the moment that I'm laughing at Brando in the podcast. If you watch that movie without knowing anything about its historical significance, let's say you just watch RRR for the very first time and someone tells you right after, hey, did you know this is based on two real people? It's funny. I don't care who you are. Because you're thinking about all the craziness that you just watched, which you just, or the other person said it's bombastic. We know that we just watched a crazy movie. So just on an island, in a vacuum, someone says, oh, it's based on a real story. It just makes you laugh. Like, I got it. It's based on two different people. They never met, two different time periods. It's all good. I don't think we really got that wrong. I just think we were enjoying how crazy it sounds when you put it that particular way that we put it. Siraj goes on to explain it a little bit more. They are real freedom fighters who never met. They left their respective village and went missing and then returned back, started the revolution. Totally. Beam is an uneducated person where he went missing, came back. Under the rights against, under the motto, water, forest, and land. Love it. It's on the flag. Raju left the village in a shaved beard look. Started perfect. Yeah, that's cool. So the last comment I have, Varun, you don't have to call it Tollywood. Appreciate you calling it Indian cinema with respective state and language. Even we are trying to erase the names given which rhymes with Hollywood. Sorry to say this. I'm actually glad you said this. Like, you don't have to, it's okay. Like, I don't mind calling it Tollywood. Like, if it's true and it's what it's called, I have no problem. I'm just being educated on it. But I did always find it confusing because I never understood why it was named after Hollywood. Like, it kind of felt like when I called it Bollywood, it felt like we had kind of given it that name. Like, that's just what it sounds like. I'm not saying we did. It just sounded like we started giving it that, and I kind of wondered, is that what they actually call it in India? So apparently it is. And apparently you call a lot of other studio systems with the name Hollywood in it. So I get it. You know, it's just like America. You know, you say something, you're going to offend this person. You say something else, you're going to offend that person. I appreciate seeing the opposite stance here after getting educated, but I really don't mind it. It's all good. It makes sense to me, and I just didn't know any better at the time. So anyway, that's some of the stuff that I thought it was cool to go over, you know, and you know, I tell you what, the podcast did really well, and I'm very grateful. You know, we got a lot of new viewers, new eyeballs on the channel, and that just meant a lot to me. So I just wanted to make sure I recognized you guys and kind of discuss the comments. You know, a lot of the other comments, we got some great feedback. A lot of people said the same kind of stuff, which is kind of baffling to me because that's one thing I forgot about YouTube commenters is that they just say what they want to say without looking to see if someone else said it already. So, you know, there's 100 comments telling me the exact same thing. Whatever, it's just part of life, but that's all good. And but mostly I am appreciative of all the feedback we got, and I'm glad you all enjoyed the channel, and I'm looking forward to watching more Indian cinema. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, when I'm going to be able to sit down, because I got 3 movies alone to watch this week and some other projects I'm working on that I'll announce later. But I definitely want to check out the, what is it, Bahubali? Is that what it's called? Part 1 and 2? Yeah. So if you're new to the channel and you stumble upon this video, keep sending me recommendations. I saw several other comments that had just a list of like 10 movies I should watch. So I'm up to the challenge. I'm probably not going to do it at a steady pace, but it's fun nonetheless, and I greatly appreciate it. So again, this weekend, we're going to do Bullet Train Out of the Theater reaction, and then we're going to review it on the Watch Diary podcast this weekend. We're also going to talk Bodies, 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 and Prey, which comes out on Hulu, and I'm so excited for that. The reactions to that are awesome, and that's all I got, really. We're kind of wrapping up the summer movie season, and then it's going to be time to talk about the Oscars. Before you know it, well, I'll have to start catching up on television so I can have a proper TV ranking at the end of the year, too. So it's crazy. It's already August. You know, it's wild. So anyway, thank you again for everybody who saw the RRR movie review and the Watch Diary show and the commenters, and I just greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this, podcasts, reviews, all kinds of stuff, and say hi to Brando. Again, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, @RewatchRyan. I'll see you when I talk Bullet Train later this week. Bye-bye.